We are the ones who don't know what we're fighting for. Give us a gun and send us all off to war. We are the ones who grow up in violent homes. We are the ones who don't know what's right or wrong. I know. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more. No more. We are the ones who don't know why we're losing score. Give them a badge so they can send us to the morgue. We are the ones who are scared to walk out the door. We are the ones who don't know what we're dying for. I know. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck. No. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more. No. Get off his fucking neck. The man makes you know he can't fucking breathe. The man makes you know We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck. No. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more.
Warning: this podcast features adult subject matter, adult language, and things not meant for children to hear. Viewer discretion is advised. You've been warned. If it's Thursday, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of appropriate ages, to the latest episode of the I'm No Joe podcast, the show where every armchair quarterback can feel like Eddie Bravo. Today, as like most days, I've got a glorious panel here with me to break down all the shit talking and shenanigans, the fight announcements and fuckery that has trickled out the MMA pipeline since we saw you wonderful folks last. I, of course, am your hostess with the mostest. The meter does many things. And before we get into all the fun and fuckery, first off, gentlemen, how you doing over there?
Happy fucking Thursday. One day closer to the weekend.
Yeah,
Thank
bro.
God.
All I know is blue dude, you can too.
Good shit. Good shit. Excuse me. All right. So with that being said, we are going to jump right into it here, kick things off the way that we like to, with a little bit of news and recent events, fight confirmations, fight cancellations, official rumor confirmations and denials, things like that. Relevant news in the fight world we feel worth telling you fine folks about. So, unfortunately, we do have a little bit tied back to last weekend that we have to start out with before we can start looking ahead here. The first one, excuse me, before we get into everything on the UFC side of things, Regis Prograis lost unanimously decision to Connor Benn last weekend in the $15 million Zuffa purse match. Not really that exciting of a fight. And afterwards, Regis Prograde decided that he was officially going to retire. Said that he knew he was going to retire for months, just didn't tell anybody because he didn't want to make it about his retirement. He just wanted to do this one last fight because he thought he could do it and go out on a W. And unfortunately, he lost and retires at the age of 37 with a professional boxing record of 30-4. Absolutely nothing to hang your fucking head about. But again, one of those situations that we talk about all the goddamn time. We would always rather see a fighter make the decision on their own to hang the gloves up and move on to another part of their life than have that decision made for them. We would always rather see a fighter decide to stop fighting while they can still tie their own shoes and sign their own name legibly than the alternative. So obviously, the boxing world is going to lose a significant piece of talent with Mr. Prograis stepping down, but at the same time, I'm always happy to see a fighter make the choice themselves that it is time for them to hang it up. Going out in a full fucking unanimous decision, they went to the fucking judges. It was a long fucking fight, nothing to be slouched about. So, understandably, Mr. Prograis is going to retire, and rumor has it now that Connor Benn no longer under Zuffa contract because that was $15 million for that one fucking boring ass fight that he put on last weekend that Dana paid him. So now he's a free agent, and rumor mill is swirling now, coming directly from the other side from the horse's mouth, that Ryan Garcia has confirmed he will be fighting Connor Benn later on this fall. So wherever that ends up, I bet you they ain't making $15 million a piece from Zuffa Boxing for it, but that's another conversation for another episode. Just one of those things that Regis Prograis' retirement didn't really get a lot of acknowledgement because of all of the other crazy shit going on last weekend. Not the first time we've seen that happen this year either. That being said, going back to last weekend on the UFC side of things, first and foremost, one of the best cards the UFC has put on in 2026 so far, hands fucking down. Overall, great fucking event. That's what the numbered events are supposed to fucking be like every time. And they're not gonna, but that's what we're going to be looking back to later on this year as what they were supposed to fucking feel like, in my opinion. A little bit of a snafu in the middle of the prelims, though. Chris Padilla versus Marquero Medeiros. In the ring, originally read for Chris Padilla. That was an error in the judges adding their own fucking scorecards up. We found out during the broadcast later on that fight was actually a majority draw. Two of the judges had it 28-28 and messed up their own fucking score adding. So Bruce read the correct card that was given to him. What was given to him was the wrong fucking score because judges judging in a UFC fight on a quote unquote numbered event could not add 3 amounts of 9 or 10. Genuinely, that's what fucking happened. So obviously and understandably, Chris Padilla and his team have announced that they are going to file for an appeal so that in best case scenario, the win will stand as a win and the draw will be thrown out. But realistically, that's an uphill battle if ever there fucking was one. So we'll see how that one actually plays out if it goes any further than just filing for the appeal and then it getting dismissed. On the other side of things, towards the end of the event, we had something that Dana makes a point to bitch about all the time about how he never matchmakes on the night of fights. And then not only did he matchmake during the fights last weekend, he did it on Instagram Live of all fucking places. Apparently, the president sitting next to him during the event asked him why Derek Lewis wasn't on the White House card because Derek Lewis is apparently Cheeto Finger's favorite fucking fighter. Dana said that they just didn't have a match for him. And then after the crazy heavyweight slobber knocker between Blades and Hokett, Dana sent Hunter to the back to make some phone calls and offered Derek Lewis to fight against Josh Hokett on the White House card. Derek Lewis said absolutely. Apparently Hokett, on his way to the hospital before getting into the ambulance, got caught by Hunter Campbell and said, yeah, absolutely, we'll do it. So they added that card on last Saturday night to the fucking circus that is the UFC card happening at the White House. And in case you are new or you have not heard yet, that is not a card that I in any way, shape, or form support, sponsor, or endorse. We will not be covering that card. I will not be making shorts for the finish of that card because I will not be watching that card. If you are interested in that, I'm not here to yuck your yum, but this is not the place you're going to find information on that shit because I ain't jumping into that circus. I ain't putting clown makeup on his goddamn face for those fucking bullshits. So, that being said, moving on to this weekend. We haven't even made it to this Saturday yet, and we've already lost a fight from Saturday's card. Just this afternoon, Mitch Raposo was taken to the hospital because he is ill, so his fight with Alan Nascimento has been taken off of the card altogether already. Apparently, Mitch Raposo is genuinely pretty ill, and they're not even going to contemplate clearing him to fight in 3 days, so they've just scrapped that fight from the card altogether. Obviously, that's not how I want to see Mitch Raposo lose, so I don't have any ill will for him to get horribly sick or something like that. I hope he does get better, and then he gets his ass beat in the UFC like I keep saying that he's going to do, and he keeps doing. So that being said, we are already down one fight on Saturday's Winnipeg card, and we are just 24 hours, or excuse me, just 48 hours out from the card taking place. So it's going to be interesting to see if they pull another fight out of their ass or if they move on as an 11 fight card. I honestly would not be mad at them just keeping it at an 11 fight card. It would make the whole production move that much faster and that much smoother with a little time to run more buffers and talk to the commentary crew and all that shit in between fights to stretch everything just a little bit, because they're not going to give up a whole another fucking 15 minutes, but that'll chop a little bit of that chunk out of the broadcast itself. So interesting to see how that one is going to shake loose. Over on the other side of the world, seems like every fucking week we have got something to talk about from them, and this week we've got an interesting one. One championship in not one, not two, but three separate countries have filed breach of contract lawsuits against Rod Tang. Because Rod Tang said that he is about to become a free agent and he's going to test the waters of free agency. He wants to see where his talent can take him across the world. Understandably, a guy who has been dominating Thailand for as long as fucking Rod Tang has been dominating Thailand, you know, the reason that One Championship set up their entire Muay Thai branch in fucking Bangkok, Rod Tang, they are suing him because he said he's about to be a free agent, and a contract apparently under One Championship gives them a full 12-month exclusivity window at the end of a fighter's contract to renegotiate right of first refusal, as well as an exclusivity contract that says that they cannot test free agency during this negotiation period. They either re-sign with one or they sit on the sidelines completely for a full calendar year from the time of negotiations ending. Just Rod Tang saying that he was about to be a free agent was enough for them to trigger this lawsuit. And upon them triggering this lawsuit, Rod Tang turned around and said, well, you know, this is extra funny because I've been working for one for several years now, but in reality, I didn't sign my contract to One Championship to begin with. I was told that I had been offered a contract for One Championship. I told my manager that I would accept it, and then a contract appeared signed with my name on it in One Championship's hands. That was not signed by me. So technically, I have no contract with One Championship whatsoever, and this lawsuit is about to make me a free and clear free agent. If Rod Tang is telling the truth, this is about to sink that fucking boat in one solid shot right through the fucking bow. The interesting part is that whether this is true or not, whether there's miscommunication or we're not hearing the whole story, they still have Rod Tang booked to headline their One Samurai Fight Night card in 2 weeks, April 29th, in a rematch for the interim flyweight title. They literally have him booked in a fucking title fight in 2 weeks and are suing him in a lawsuit that they won't even go to court to start until the end of May, after they are expecting him to fight. I don't know what kind of validity there is to the claims that Rod Tang is making about him never actually signing his contract. I don't know what kind of validity there is to the clauses in the one championship contracts themselves that makes it warrant suing him for that breach of contract in 3 fucking countries. But what I do know is that you don't get this type of issue with your top fucking stars of your company unless there is a serious problem going on behind the fucking scenes. And one way or another, this is not a good look for one championship. And whether they win or lose this lawsuit, the fact that it has gotten this far with everything involved in it is fucking crazy unto itself and makes one championship look very fucking shaky right now. Obviously, we're going to follow up on that as more information comes out. But as of right now, I'm kind of dumbfounded all the way around with this fucking story. I really am. I'm not saying that it's one of those situations where because he's Rod Tang, you have to believe him. There's absolutely every possibility. There's translation issues because there's like 4 different languages being spoken involving this arbitration right now, literally. There's 100% possibility that this is just something that is not translating properly all the way around to make the circle square. There's also every possibility that this is one championship getting caught trying to keep their hand in the fucking honeypot, and they're about to really put a hole in their boat and sink that entire fucking organization. It's weird, but it's potentially a huge factor in the combat sports world and in the Asian combat sports market specifically. So they're suing him in 3 countries, for fuck's sake. It's going to be interesting to see how that one shakes loose. Back over here on the United States side of things, though, we've got some interesting shit to look forward to here. 2 weeks from now, May 1st, Game Bred Bare Knuckle MMA is having another event, and they are going to headline that event with Yoel Romero versus Hector Lombard. Excuse me. Apparently, that fight had been swirling around for quite some time, but they were able to lock down the contracts for both fighters this week and have already got posters released. I do think it's ironic that this summer we seem to be getting all the fights that we wanted to see 5 to 7 years ago made in different organizations that where they originally could have been made. But between Ronda and Gina Carano fighting over on fucking MVP on Netflix, for fuck's sake, Yoel versus Hector at Game Bred Bare Knuckle MMA, Darren Till going to BKFC to try and set up a fight with Mike Perry, like, it's a very strange summer for combat sports for fans of a couple of years at this point, because most of the guys that you wanted to see fight a couple of years ago are lining up to start fighting, but in other organizations, and they're all fucking older and worse for wear at this point. And it's like the fact that Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather are potentially running back their 10-year too far past its prime fight again this summer just seems to be like the icing on the fucking cake of what should have been years ago now coming to fruition, because what the fuck else do we have right now? It's an interesting one. So I'm absolutely here. I do like the way that Game Bred Bare Knuckle takes the fucking gloves off sometimes, but there are other times, like a couple weeks ago, where we saw where there's a reason that they wear somewhat padding on their gloves for some of those fights. Oof. But we'll see. We'll see. But speaking of the potentially seeking boat, a month from yesterday, excuse me, May 15th, there is a card labeled 1 semicolon inner circle, because they've started doing the weird 90s UFC naming of their events now lately. And they are going to headline it by the giant himself, Rug, in a rematch against the man he took the belt from, Anatoly Malikin. Assuming nothing happens between now and then to fuck that up, that could be a very fun matchup as well, if that card happens and everything plays out the way it's supposed to. We'll see. That being said, we got official confirmation straight from the horse's mouth. Excuse me. D-Rod, fresh out of Mexican prison, right back at it into the UFC. He will be taking on Leon Edwards for International Fight Week at UFC 329 in July. Contracts confirmed, signed, has to be officially announced by the UFC, of course, but D-Rod showed his fucking contract and it's all good. So the ink is on the paper. If something happens at this point, we know for a fact that it was on Leon, but I saw something earlier where someone had asked Leon about it this afternoon and he said, yeah, he looks forward to it. It should be a good matchup. So that could be pretty fucking cool. I think that's a very interesting stylistic matchup and a real good test for both of those gentlemen to see where they're both still at this point. So looking forward to UFC 329 as well. That being said, they also confirmed yesterday afternoon UFC 330 will officially be taking place in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The first time in 15 years the UFC has been to Philly. It will be August 15th, and Dana said that there will be a title in the main event, but wouldn't say who it was or what weight class they were at. That they just are waiting on one of the two involved to sign their contract, even though they verbally agreed. So they're just saying that there's a title fight at the top of the card for right now. Interesting. We'll see how that plays out. Couple quick ones to close it out here. The first one, kind of fucking crazy. Mark Hunt was arrested for domestic violence over the weekend. Apparently, down in Australia, he went to a bar and was having an issue with a waitress. A bystander tried to get involved. He apparently had it out with both of them and then turned around and texted the waitress, "Don't worry, once this all blows over, I'm just going to kill you anyway." Yeah, Mark Hunt very quickly becoming the Australian BJ Penn. That's not a good thing for those of you who are unaware. That being said, two interesting ones, both kind of predictable, though, to close it out here. The first one, John Jones, in the span of a week since we have talked to you fine folks, I shit you not, has retired, unretired, and now, as of this afternoon, retired again. Apparently, he saw Conor McGregor's "I'm done with the UFC" skit and said, "Hold my cocaine," and wants to do it that much bigger and better. So I believe this is the respectively 6th and 5th time he has retired and unretired since they told him he was going to have to fight Tom Aspinall. And he said no and took his toys and went home. We'll see how many more times they let him say this, but he clearly does not seem done talking about or trying to stay relevant without actually having to fight Tom Aspinall. So, you know, John Jones gonna John Jones at this point in the game.
At this point in the game, he's going to be on a waiting list because he's going to be whoever fighting whoever the interim is. So
Yeah, he's not even at the top of his own fucking list anymore. So
yeah,
that just makes it that much funnier, in my opinion.
act like a duck, walk like a duck, quack like a duck. You're a fucking duck.
Fuck you, John Jones. That being said, unfortunately, the last one I've got this week is John Jones adjacent news because his fucking allegation dodging protege, Gable Stevenson, has officially signed with the UFC and will be making his debut on that International Fight Week card that we were talking about a little bit earlier with D-Rod. I am curious to see what they are going to do with Gable. He is way too young in his mixed martial arts career to even have been considered for a realistic position in the UFC. This is 100% a combination of Dana White privilege and name recognition value as opposed to actual reputation and resume value. Gable Stevenson stays in the headlines for the last couple of years, to say the very least. So he's going to get some name value, but the UFC has also done this exact maneuver several times recently and then tried to rush their prospects only to find out they weren't really fucking prospects. So it's going to see who they actually end up matching him with once we get a little closer to National Fight Week.
I think they're gonna make a small mistake in this. Is they're gonna rush him too fast. Because to be honest, I think he needs to be on that same fucking thing that we saw with Bo Nickel. Go on the Contender Series.
Yeah.
Fight. If you do well, yeah, we'll get you in. If you look too good, we're gonna make you fight on the Contender Series again. Because to his credit, he's a fucking outstanding collegiate wrestler.
He is. He's one of the few collegiate wrestlers whose resume can genuinely hold a candle to Bo Nichols, whose resume is genuinely fucking incredible. So
yeah, so I mean,
there's potential there for sure.
The other potential is we've seen he's already had an MMA fight.
Yeah, it wasn't fucking good.
It wasn't great.
Even
No.
against a can, it wasn't good.
But the one thing he does have going for him is he moves very well for a fucking heavyweight. But that's not all there is to that. So he's got a really steep learning curve, especially at his weight class.
Yeah, that he's not. There's not many easy fucking fights for him to debut with, and after that, I think there's what 13 guys at heavyweight right now officially signed to the roster.
Yeah,
Like
he's
there's
getting
not
thrown to the
enough even on
wolves
the
right
UFC,
away.
even on the UFC website. There's not enough to make a top 15 list. Genuinely, that tells you something about the heavyweight division right now. So him coming in, being young, having a lot of fucking name recognition, being John Jones's training partner and fucking protege right now, like I feel like they're going to try and give him the canniest can that they can find for his debut, and then it's off to the fucking races because there's no one else to just walk around with at heavyweight right now. Everybody at heavyweight that's staying there is a motherfucker, or they just get gone. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. That being said, that is all I have got for news for this week. Anything any of you gentlemen might have?
Yes.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. I'll go next.
Okay. So I don't like the bitch a lot. I'm not. I try not to be that person. But there has to be a level of professionalism. You got little kids watching you. Now I get it. It's a violent sport, and testosterone and adrenaline and all that shit's going. But you get people like Hokit on the mic saying Brittany Griner's a man and all this other stupid shit. Why? Why let him sit there and say that? And then the next jackass that gets on the mic. I'm not going to repeat what he said, but why? And now you leave Rogan sitting there. While I do agree he should hang it up and stop doing what he's doing because he's not paying attention half the fucking time, anyways. You leave him standing there with his dick in his hand, just having to listen to you talk about whatever it is that you decided that your racist, homophobic ass decided to say. Now, should it be a little bit on Joe for not pulling the mic away? I kind of think so. I think he should. I think there should be the interview's done right there type of deal. But I don't know. That shit it's just kind of been It's just kind of been grinding on me all week. All this live television, bro, and you decide to say that stupid shit.
I get it. I get it. This is also exactly why we can't use him for our casual corner anymore. He's officially been watching long enough now to where he sees the shit that pisses him off. This is why he's got his own segment.
Oh, I want to point this out. This is not a person I generally want to talk about. Actually, I never want to talk about. But I found something funny in the news over this week. So there's a reason for the hat this week. That is because Ronda Rousey, found out that you do not go and hang out with a Mr. Diaz
Nathan Diaz
and come out normally. Go watch her fucking interview after that, and she blatantly says, "Yeah, I fucked up."
Yeah, she realized that as soon as they started asking her questions, she realized exactly how much trouble that she was in. The bottle cap incident.
Oh,
Chef's
yeah,
kiss.
trying to
Fucking
take a drink,
chef's
and they're
kiss.
just, oh fuck, yeah,
Twice in a
just
row.
too fucked up to even fucking hang. She fucked around and found out. Thus the hat this week.
That's a beautiful interview. I really laughed at that quite
Oh,
hard.
like I said, not somebody I generally want to talk about, but it was funny enough to where I thought it was worth the mention this week.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then the best part is knowing she was that fucking lit. Go watch the fucking section of Media Day where both her and Gina Carano go the fuck off on Kayla Harrison, I giggled like a little girl at a Justin Bieber concert. I was so fucking happy to hear that shit. A, knowing that she was stoned to the fucking bone orbiting Venus while she said it, but B, watching how fucking fluid she held that fucking conscious train of thought to say everything she fucking wanted to about Kayla Harrison's dumbass. Absolute fucking golf claps, Rhonda. Well done this weekend. Absolutely. So, that being said, that's what we've got for news this week. That being said, like we mentioned previously, we can't exactly use this guy as a fucking casual anymore because he's in it long enough to start knowing shit that pisses him off. The other side of the coin, though, is that in being in it enough to find things that piss you off, you also start to find things that interest you and you wonder, wait, how is that working and why does that work and what the fuck was that? And he started his journey. He is learning about the game from a hardcore's perspective of things in a little segment that we have come to call The Next Move with Flintlock.
Thank you. Thank you. So, last we talked, it was a little more serious. Today, I would like to talk about what I like to call and what a lot of people I hear refer to as the backpack. Now, technically, I guess it's called back guard. But if you ask me, it looks like you put a fucking backpack on. Okay? So this can be very, very effective if you do it right. If you're just hanging on the guy, all loose and limp, you're burning yourself out. I've watched several videos. Once again, I am not trained in any professional manner of jujitsu, MMA, nothing like that. But every video I've watched, there has not been a single person successfully do the backpack and just be slouched on somebody. It's always high and tight. You've got your arms locked around their chest, and you've got either your hook set in or you've got a leg lock around their middle of their waist. Now, we're talking about this because it can either be a really good tactic, slowing your opponent down, running them out of stamina. It can make the fight pretty boring because one guy's not doing something, he's just hanging on to the other guy. But on the other hand, if you're doing what I was saying by keeping yourself loose, it is nothing for that guy if he's standing up to slouch over and just shake you off. And then you fall on your face. And it's hilarious every time. There's so many different chokes, submissions, and just general pain you can inflict on people correctly performing back guard all together. The chokes themselves, you take somebody's neck home 7 different ways. Because if they're fighting your legs, then they're not fighting your hands, and if they're fighting your hands, they're not fighting your legs. It's almost foolproof, but like I said, that shit can be boring as fuck. Now, I've always said, hey, why not just jump up and land on your back? And then I watched it happen. Twice in a row. And he hung on. And I'm pretty sure both of them were dazed. But it is a very, very effective strategy. It can be funny sometimes, and it can be, detrimental to the person using it. But the backpack, it gets a W in my book.
Absolutely. We've actually seen a couple of backpacks over the last couple of weekends as well. Not all of them the most effective. Like you mentioned, it's back control. It's not back win. Like, you still have to effectively do something from that position. But if you can secure yourself in that position, whether you put the body lock in or you sink that fucking leg behind their knee so they can't shake you loose, once they're carrying your body weight, there's tons of options to manipulate, just holding fucking standing ground and pound, essentially. Like, there's plenty of options. But yeah, we've seen a couple recently where they get the backpack position and then just completely fucking waste it. They use it more as an opportunity to take a break themselves than to actually finish a fucking fight. And that's when you start hearing the crowd start getting a little fucking ruckus. And it's like, you've got a very dominant position. If you can't do something with it, you probably shouldn't just sit in this position. You should look for another fucking option here. But yeah, no, back control is a key part of pretty much any grappler or jiu-jitsu player's base game, or should be. Thank you very much, sir. Always appreciated. Always enjoy watching this journey go through. That being said, if you've been watching combat sports as long as some of us have been watching combat sports, you start to learn what you like to watch and when it comes on and how to watch it. And you start to develop your habits, and you eventually develop a set of blinders for everything else. And you start to lose the forest for the trees. Luckily for us here on the show, we've got ourselves a bona fide young person out there diligently, literally right now, delicately fingering the pulse of the MMA world to help keep us abreast of all the names that are going to be names before they are names in a mobile segment we call Cans and Contenders.
Appreciate you, brother. Definitely a funny way to be a part of the pod this week, but I'm glad you boys started a little late so that I could hop on in here. Appreciate you like always. So while I'm walking around out in the middle of the night, I got some shit to talk on this card this week. The majority of it sucks ass. And to just be completely honest here, is definitely one of those fucking hangover cards last weekend actually turned out to be pretty good for us. I had a lot of fun fucking fights last weekend. This weekend, not so much. There's literally a few good names, a couple of young fighters I'm looking forward to this weekend. One of them being Gage motherfucking Young. Good old Missouri boy on the card. Hopefully he has another good performance. Finally got his first fucking win in his last fight. So we're rooting for that one. Is he really high potential contender at this point? No. We need the boy to get a fucking win. We always root for the Missouri guys. We'll throw that out there first to start with the rest of the shit. There's a good bit of it. So you've got the Jamie Lynn Horth and motherfucking JJ Aldrich fight. This one is a big one because JJ Aldrich's dumbass got cut, last year or something like that, and then goes and fights in BKFC, gets her shit rocked a little bit, and then somehow makes it back to the UFC. I'm very confused by this. You're going to give her a fight against another chick in her late 30s that's a fucking can. So just typical as always, Aldrich had weight issues her whole fucking time. The first go in the UFC. I think this is a bantamweight fight, so we may still see some fucking weight misses. Oh, 125? Yeah, okay, so guaranteed weight miss. Yeah, not looking good. We may not even get the fight, but got to throw it in the shitter. And then you got the slew of other fighters. You got to throw in the shitter here that's on this card. Tanner Boser, Mitch Raposo, Jai Herbert. Got to throw them all on the shit. Big one I don't want to throw in the shitter. He's just at the end of it, though. We've seen a lot of guys. They have a fantastic career. We love the hell out of him. He's an amazing dude. Got the great personality. He's been a great fighter. For the majority of his career, we can only make it to the belt at one time. Got his ass beat by his best friend and has literally gone downhill ever since. I love Gilbert Burns, man. He's turned into his brother. Last handful of fights, he's turned into Herbert Burns more than the Gilbert Burns of old. Honestly, the last, I would say great performance I thought we saw from Gil, and he still lost the fight, was the Hamzat fight. So for the last few years, it's been rough. Gil has been getting knocked out by these young kids, and I don't see it going that way against Malat. Malat hasn't shown a fuck enough that I think he's going to put Gil out. But if he loses to Mike Malat, this is it. He's done. It's totally the end of the career for Gilbert. I'd like to say otherwise, but I had to throw him in the can. My contenders for this week, I'll start out with this weird guy, Mandel Nalo. He had a good performance on the Contender Series, but the reason I'm saying contender, he might have a decent debut. The dude might have some potential because he's got some power in his hands, but he's like 36 or fucking 37. He's in his late 30s. I just don't see the point in signing a guy like that. He's not going to get through those younger guys. He's not going to really be a contender. Is he going to have a good debut? He gets some knockouts and exciting moments, maybe. So that's why I put him on the fence. That's how bad this week is, right? And I got to search for one of the Canadians on the card that has power in his hands. It's in his late 30s. But the true contender this weekend, Mark Vologdane. That's a kid I think has some true potential. He's a lot younger. He looked pretty damn good on the Contender Series. Tough little scrap that he had. He comes out on the short end of the stick. But definitely, I think there's a lot of room to grow. So we're putting him on the fence. Can the kid grow? Can the kid do some cool things? Yeah. Was he in a badass fight? Yeah. That's what we like to see. Will he probably be in a badass fight and throw balls to the wall? Yeah. So I'm going to throw him on the fence there. Good things to look forward to this weekend. I already touched on Gage Young. Keep your eye out for him. And there's a kid, pretty young. I think he's 27. Marcio Barbosa. Got a lot of finishing potential. Looks pretty good coming in. I think this kid might have a good debut. So it's another kid to look out for. Like I said, there's very, very few this weekend. But you got our local boy, Gage Young, Marcio Barbosa. And then, to be honest, the Canadians' potential better. Yeah, I would say could be contender day. Are they right now? I wouldn't think so. Jasmine had her chance to really like push for the belt, got her ass beat by Manon Fiorello. She's gonna have to really climb her way back to get a crack at it, but she can't. She's shown she's a top 10 flyweight at the very least. She's had some good performances, beat the shit out of Jessica Andrade. So maybe she can bounce back. Mike Malott needs to quit kicking dudes in the balls and focus on hitting guys in the face. And maybe he can turn shit around too. But will they have good performances this weekend? Most likely. The big fight, the only fight that I'm really excited for as a whole, other than those couple of young kids, Kyler Phillips and Charles Jourdain. Neither one of those dudes are the greatest fucking fighter. Neither one of them have had the greatest runs in the UFC. And they might shit the bed and put lackluster fight, trying to grapple with each other. They've both been in some big.
Like, he's walking through a bad neighborhood.
Charles Jourdain's gotten some knockouts in his career. So. What'd you say, brother?
You're getting choppy for a second there. So he must be walking through a bad
Yeah,
neighborhood.
had some cars driving by at the same time, so it sounded like shit. But yeah, the Charles Jourdain, Kyler Phillips, that's the only one I feel like has some potential to be a good back and forth little fight. But that's all I got. Cans and contenders wise, hear what you boys got to say on it. Probably agree with me that most of the cards sucks, but
I'll give the UFC credit. They sure know how to give us a hangover card after a pretty decent number card. Can't even call them pay-per-views anymore. They're just numbered cards. God, I hate to say this. I should have probably brought this up in the news earlier, but I'm going to hit it right now too. One, is the UFC going downhill now that they're fucking taking off or putting on too many fucking cards? Oh, this is going to taste really bad coming out of my mouth. I fully agree with Sean O'Malley on this one. For those of you who didn't know, Sean O'Malley said, yeah, the UFC is going downhill. They're putting on too many bad cards. And I fully fucking agree with this with 100%, without a shadow of a doubt. You guys all know, I do not like Sean O'Malley. If you've been listening to this podcast long enough, fuck that guy. But I am 100% agreement with stop feeding us fucking garbage. Let's get back to what made the UFC fucking amazing, which is putting on good cards. Yeah, it was less cards less often, but the cards were better. We were getting legitimately good fighters, not a roster of 5,000 fighters who were just fucking, well, never going to be the top dogs. I mean, yes, they have to get here somehow. but they should be a top dog somewhere else before they get here. Look, as much as I appreciate things like the Contender Series because they brought on some really good folks, they brought on a lot of shit folks too. And those heavily outweigh the good ones. If you want to run a whole different UFC set of events that's nothing but Contender Series guys trying to break into the rankings, I would be okay with that because I'm not going to tune into those. But instead, we get fed chocolate dip poop on a stick every time that there's a fucking numbered or paid per view card, that's air quotes for you guys listening. We get this shit the next fucking week. Nobody wants last year's leftovers. I didn't say last week's, last year's leftovers, because that's what these are. Oh, these are the minimum. Oh, well, you're on our roster. We have to offer you 3 fights a year. That's in their fucking contract. Every goddamn fighter who fights for the UFC has to be offered 3 fights per year. 3. No more, no less. Yes, there are plenty of fighters who take more than that. There are plenty of fighters who take less. But they have to be offered 3. So a lot of these guys, well, I'm not getting offers anywhere else, so I have to take this. Especially the vast majority of this card being Canadians. A lot of them being very young in their career or very shite. In fact, for the vast majority of this card, all but 3 fights have a Canadian in them. And that's even with, and I'm not counting the removal of that other fight that got nixed on Wednesday. It just, as a whole, the card sucks. Why are we letting JJ Aldrich back in the UFC? Jamie Lynn Horth has not been good. She's only on this card because she's Canadian. And they needed somebody to fill a spot, so they're like, oh, let's go get this person who's probably going to miss weight because we're going to cut this fight anyways if she misses weight, which is fucking great. Hopefully that happens because fuck them. You got guys like Tanner DeBosier on here. Heavyweight slap fest. That's it. Walrus slap fight. That's all there is to be said about that. You've got a bunch of unknowns. You've got a couple of guys who we slightly know who they are. Thiago Moises, fucking end of his career getting Gage Young. Like the absolute dead end of his career. Moises has been around for a long fucking time. Gage is getting fed a name. He better do something with it or back to the fucking B leagues with you. I'm not from Missouri, so I don't have to root for the fucking Missouri boys. I'll say that right now. So he better fucking do something because this is a shit or get off the pot moment. If you can't beat an aged, beat up ass Thiago Moises, you don't fucking belong here. Period. Jasmine Jews the Vicious. She's fucked herself in more ways than one. And to be quite frank, I never thought she was that fucking great anyways. She has some solid wrestling and some solid fucking grappling. But overall, as a fighter, she's not great. And she's fighting Karina Silva. Again, another one who, how are you a ranked fucking flyweight at this point? Shite. Sure, let's give Mendel Nalo a little bit of a you could be good. But you're fighting a cannon Jai Herbert. Again, getting tossed a softball. If you fuck this up, get the fuck out. I can't. Look, I know you were trying to find some saving grace when you said Kyler Phillips and Charles Jourdain. Fuck Charles Jourdain. Fuck Kyler Phillips. Both of them are absolute garbage. How they're getting a co-main event spot, I don't know. Probably. Oh, wait a minute. I do know. It's because we're getting 2 years ago leftover fucking garbage spouted to us as, oh, look at this great card that we're following up this numbered event. Now, to be very nice in the nicest way possible, I'm going to give the main event a contender. Not because it really means anything for the welterweight division, but because this could end up in one of the greatest fiery car crashes that we have witnessed in a long time. We're talking Gilbert Burns will take a lot of damage. He will get kicked in the nuts about 6 times by Mike Malott. Mike Malott will get fucking 4 points taken from away from him, and Gilbert will still win the fight somehow. That's my hope. That's why it gets contender. Any other outcome other than that doesn't fucking matter. Is this a fine fight to make? Yes. Gilbert Burns, in my opinion, is wholly at the end of his career. As much as I appreciate what he's done for the sport and the personality that he's brought to the sport, especially with him and fucking what's his goddamn name, Cutman. My brain is not working right now because it's a half hour
Tate.
later than our normal start time.
Red Tate.
Yeah, Tate. Between what him and Tate did for, of course, like 2 fucking years on social media was fucking amazing. And you know, if Tate's there, they're gonna be fucking around again, which is great because get us a little old school there. But other than that, this fight makes sense in the spot of yeah, Mike Malott looks like he has potential if he would stop kicking people in the nuts. If he can do that, yeah, maybe he deserves a top 15 opponent next. But at this point, it's a crapshoot. It's another one where I'm glad there's fights this weekend. I'm also glad I have a whole lot of shit I need to be doing this weekend, so I might miss them. That's pretty fucking sad when I say something like that. Because I love fighting. I really do. Specifically MMA. Boxing, fuck it. But this is starting to turn into boxing to me. And not because the fights are boring, because don't get me wrong, we've had some really great fights on these shitty, what we assumed were going to be shitty cards. And we've had some great ones that surprise us. Most of the time, though, they're just shit. And it feels like boxing in the sense of, yeah, we'll throw on boxing events every weekend because you can find a boxing event anywhere. But it's always just a bunch of no names that are getting their feet wet into the waters. That's kind of what I feel like the UFC is turning into with this overzealous amount of fucking cards. Take that as you will, but I'm in agreement for 90% of what you said. It's just that everything is shit. There's no saving grace to this for me.
Yeah, this is a rough one. This is the biggest positive thing I can say about this card is that this is another one of those great examples of when the UFC gets the fuck out of the apex, even if it's just for a week or two, they generally do a pretty good job of local representation. And like TJ mentioned, literally every fight but one or two on this entire fucking card has a Canadian. There's more Canadians than anything else on this fucking card. So they've done a damn good job of representing Canada coming back to Winnipeg. The problem is, like a lot of the road shows so far this year for the UFC, they're going on the road with a fight night instead of a quote unquote numbered card. And a lot of these fight nights, specifically the hangover cards that we talk about immediately before or after a numbered card, these hangover cards are very much becoming contractual obligation events. This is a situation where you go from having 700 fighters on a roster and 35 events a year to having 3,500 fighters on a roster and having 45 to 48 events a year. You literally get to a point where we're at now where we have more weekends with UFC than we do without in a year. And I'm a lunatic. I do this for the love of the game. I was watching PFL Belfast this afternoon when I woke up. I watched Ryzen at 3 o'clock in the morning last fucking weekend. I watch all of the goddamn fights because I'm fucking crazy like that. I love combat sports. That's why I do this show, because I watch all the combat sports, and sometimes it's hard to find out when, where, and what's worth watching until it's already happened. So it's one of the reasons I do the combat sports menu on Wednesday, because like today, there was a fight before we did the show this afternoon, and it wasn't really advertised enough last weekend to make it worth adding to last weekend's show. So I'm a fucking lunatic. I watch all the goddamn fights, but that doesn't mean that every fight I watch, I automatically say, oh, well, it's fucking great, especially when it comes to shit like this. Yes, there are a lot of potentially good matchups on this card, but there is equally as much potential for 15-minute snooze fest, for wet blanket domination, for boring staring at each other rounds where even the commentators are struggling to find something good to say about it. This is one of those cards that just doesn't get anyone excited if you're not related to someone on this card. That's not to say that some of these fights can't be great. I am personally kind of curious about Robert Valentin versus Julian LeBlanc. Two new dudes to the UFC, barely new in their, combat sports careers. It's the fucking quote unquote premier prelim for this card. Could be interesting, could be terrible. It's coming after Tanner Boser, which we're pretty fucking sure is going to be terrible. So even the card placement itself is inconsistent. You've got some of these potentially good matchups. Is as rough as it is to say, realistically speaking, Jasmine Jasudavicius versus Karine Silva is going to be one of the better fights on this card. I have very little doubt about that. The problem is that that's not a compliment. I like Karine Silva. I think she's got a lot of fucking potential. Jasmine Jasudavicius has had a hell of a run, but she clearly fucking plateaued and hasn't seemed to do much in terms of rounding out her skill set a little more to get herself back to where she was trying to go. She's just kind of content with where she found herself falling into place. That's not the most exciting to me. Gage Young, local Missouri boy, hoping he gets a fucking big win because Thiago Moses is well fucking past his sell-by date. But that crafty old motherfucker also has a legitimate chance to pull something crazy out of his ass that this fucking young fighter at 10-3 has never fucking seen before and do some crazy shit and throw the whole fucking event into chaos. Who fucking knows? What I will say is that as rare as it happens, all three of the ladies' fights on this card really don't mean a whole lot. Not in terms of their division, not in terms of the UFC. I will say, I agree with TJ. I was a little surprised, A, that the UFC brought JJ Aldrich back, but B, that this fight against Jamie Lynn Horth is at 125 pounds and not 135 pounds with JJ's history of having weight issues. The fact that the fight after them, Melissa Croden versus Zelina Kaba, is at 135 pounds shows me that it could have been a bantamweight fight and probably would have been better for both of those ladies, really, if they'd have done it at 35. Russian Ronda hasn't really done too terribly much to establish herself since she's gotten to the UFC, but there's not a lot going on in the 125-pound division right now. So I also understand why the UFC was encouraging them to make this a fucking fight there. That's not something you generally want to have people talking about when you're coming to an event. Granted, Winnipeg crowds are generally fairly educated, so I don't anticipate hearing a lot of boos like you get when the UFC comes to the South and two guys are on the ground for too fucking long because, that stuff ain't fighting. But that doesn't also mean that every fight we're going to see Saturday up in Canada is going to be the most exciting either. That being said, I'm not the most excited about the fight itself. But the co-main event does have me curious because Kyler Phillips has seemed to coast so fucking smoothly on autopilot thus far in his UFC tenure, whereas Charles Jourdain, to his credit, ate a bag full of shit and tripped over his dick real fucking hard, but has seemingly turned around and put the work in to try and fix it. You can see his socials. He's been training his fucking ass off, and he's Dorito chip shape right now. Like, that motherfucker is swole. He's cut his fucking cut gets. So to see him still at 135 as big and as fucking lean as he is right now kind of says that he's been working on it. I hope for Kyler Phillips' sake, he's been working on it too, but it doesn't give you the same impression if you look at the two social medias. So I'm kind of curious about that co-main event. I don't think it's the best fight on the card by any stretch of the imagination. It's just the bigger of the name value, so they had to put something that people will kind of recognize in the co-main spot. I get that. But I think there is still a little bit of potential, at least from Jourdain's side of things, to make this shit a little bit interesting. I agree completely with the main event, though. Is it a bad fight overall? No. Is it a main event caliber fight? No. Is this set up to be a big fight? Not really. Like, Mike Malott, to his credit, he's a fairly well-rounded fighter, but he's also one of those that seems to have superpowers tied to his homeland. Because when they take him out of Canada, he really falls the fuck apart. When they bring him at home and he's got the fucking Maple Leafs surrounding him, he does pretty goddamn good, to his credit, every fucking time. But Gilbert Burns is also one of the craftiest fucking veterans the UFC has in any fucking division, in my opinion. He's extremely well-rounded on the ground. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, dangerous as it fucking gets. He's got hands like a motherfucker, and he's got a chin. Gilbert can take fucking shots. He's demonstrated that time and time again. He can take shots and turn it the fuck around. So if Malott can't manage his gas tank, he could be in a lot of fucking trouble at home for the first time potentially in his UFC run, in my opinion. The issue is at the other side of that coin is that we have seen Gilbert come into fights just not giving a shit, really, for lack of a better term. Like, just not fucking caring, just coming in like it's a regular smoker session in the fucking gym on a Saturday afternoon. And when Gilbert shows up like that, he gets fucking dog walked. And that's happened too many times recently in Gilbert's resume to be able to just give this one to Malott up in Canada, especially in a main event situation. If he comes in not really hyped the fuck up, the Gilbert that we have seen potentially be a fucking world breaker, Malott's gonna dog walk him, and I think it's gonna be the point when the UFC is gonna finally say sayonara. And that's not one of those things that I look forward to. But at the same time, Gilbert Burns has highway miles that most other fighters in the UFC right now do not. His accreditation in the jiu-jitsu world, not to mention just his combat sports overall career, has got longevity that most fighters can only fucking dream of. And he still gets out of bed and jump ropes and skips down the fucking hallway every goddamn morning. So it's not that he's aged out. It's just that he's been doing so many different types of combat sports for so long. Father Time's undefeated for a fucking reason. And we might be closing in on that moment for Gilbert, as hard as that is to fucking say. I think this weekend is going to tell us a lot about both of these guys, because if Malott comes in sloppy or doesn't have himself, controlled, he's been known to blow his fucking gas tank early, and Gilbert Burns will make you fucking pay for that, because Gilbert can weather a storm. The other side of that, though, if Gilbert gets worked in the main event in Canada, I don't know how many times we're going to see him, if any more. So fingers crossed we get some fucking excitement out of this card, but on paper, it's a rough one to get hyped up about.
And not fucking lying there. Appreciate you, boys. Tried to make it prettied up a bit, but it's ugly. It's ugly this week. Thank you, boys.
Thank you very much, sir. Always appreciate it. That being said, that'll bring us to the only segment of the show that does require its own individual disclaimer. So, if you will. Tapology.com in no way, shape, or form supports, sponsors, or endorses the I'm No Joe podcast. Yet. That being said, Tapology does give you the option to go onto their website and make yourself a free account, and then you can make fantasy MMA style picks like we do here on the show. They even let you make groups on there. So we made one. We call it I'm No Bookie, all one word, or Group 965, however you need to find it. The group is open to the public. You are welcome and encouraged. Make yourself an account, join the group, let us know who you are, and we'll hold your accounts. We will hold your picks accountable with our picks in the segment that we call Tapology with TJ.
And we're back for another. Well, actually, we got a couple of things to go over here. To start with here, I know you guys are watching this for free. Because if you weren't, you'd be members of the Patreon. And since you like free shit, you should go over to Tapology, make yourself a free account, because it's 100% free. Come over and join us. Group 965, I'm No Bookie, however you got to find it. If you don't want to continue to be a freeloader, feel free to join the Patreon over there. I'm just saying, it'd be nice to get a payday after doing this for so many fucking years. Not a big payday, maybe a little royalty check, like a 1%er or something like that. That's all I'm saying. But either way, that doesn't matter. I'm not gonna whore us out for money, because I really don't honestly care. I'm doing this for fun. So let's move right into it. Last week, there was no catching Donna. 327 She was 8 of 12 correct, takes the top spot. She's like, "Oh, you think you're gonna win on this? No, you're not." Congratulations to Don for a second straight week of not double taking the last spot on his own. Christian managed that with 1 of 12 correct. I don't know how that's fucking possible, or if he just didn't complete his picks, which is my guess. Or excuse me, not fucking Vinny. Fuck me. Sorry about that, Christian. I knew who the fuck I was talking about. You knew who I was talking about. It just kind of came out the wrong way. I'm tired. We started late because, somebody's got to have a job where I work second shift. Tell them bitches you want first shift. Now, and he took it, and overall, everyone in the group was 500 or better. I mean, we really did do well. And the difference between picks correct in first and everyone else, other than, well, Don and Vindog, was 1 pick because it was 8 correct for Donna, 7 correct for everyone else. So we were all north of 500. And we did a fantastic job. So with that, we're gonna do the one and only thing we can do here, which is tell you where everybody ended up in our last Grand Prix, which ended with UFC 327. The spring has sprung fuckery Grand Prix, whatever we were calling it. I don't know. Don't care, because it's over with. Well, with the way Donna showed up, she ended up holding down that first spot. And there was no change between second, third, and fourth. None of us could get out of our own way to make that change. So the meter takes home second. Christian's got third by 5 fucking points over me. And then Don, and then of course Vinny. So there's 6 of us in this group right now. So come over and join us. Get us some more so it makes it a little more interesting. Maybe somebody will actually be able to dethrone Donna. Because look, just as a little who's been winning, the last 3 Grand Prix we've had, Donna has taken first place in. I took the one previous to that. Don managed to somehow get one of those in there previous to that. Then Donna. And Meter took one. Christian took one. Another Donna. Myself. Vindog took one. Another Meter. And then myself. If you didn't notice, the vast majority of those, Donna is whipping our fucking ass left, right, and center. When she first started, I was like, oh, this is just a phase. She's getting lucky because she's just learning about MMA. To be fair, they're retired, Donna and Donna are. So they have a lot of time to watch podcasts and do in-depth dives into fighters. And obviously, somebody is doing their homework more in that house than somebody else. On the other side of that, though, Don is kind of like the vast majority of us, has very strong opinions about fighters, and sometimes picks based on his heart, not on necessarily what's on the paper. I do that myself. I will fully admit to that because you know what? There's some people I just refuse to fucking pick, period. Like, you bet your sweet ass, I was definitely not picking certain folks on this last card for a fucking reason. I will tell you, I did not pick Special Juice for a reason. That bit me in the ass, which is fine. I'm perfectly all right with that. But we got to get some more people in here. Somebody's got to assassinate Donna out of that first spot because it's getting ridiculous. 3 Grand Prix in a fucking row. 3 of them. We need to shit or get off the pot ourselves. So, maybe it's time for one of us to get cut from this. Maybe the UFC can learn a thing or two on what to do when people are on a 3-fight skid. Now, with all of that being said here, let's get into the excitement of UFC Winnipeg. I don't know what event it is. All I just know is it's in fucking Winnipeg. We're gonna do some Caesars this week because Caesar sounds like a good time. Because why the fuck not? For the vast majority of this card, it is pretty coin flippy. I'm just gonna cover a couple of them, other than, of course, co-main and main as usual. Is it Jamie Sharaj and John Giannis? Got Giannis coming in as a plus 210 underdog, and Jamie is a minus 260 favorite. Seems about right, but they're also very young in their fucking careers. And well, to be honest, like I said, this is kind of a crapshoot this week, so God only knows. The next one I'm going to cover is going to be the widest odds on the card because, like I said, pretty much everything is coin flippy this week. Actually, nope, there's one other one I need to catch in here real quick. And that is the Jasmine Jasdavicius and Karine Silva. Silva coming in as a plus 250 underdog. Jasdavicius, a minus 320 favorite. To be honest, I'm not surprised about that just because Jasmine does have way better wrestling, and that fight's probably just going to end up on the ground anyways. Um, the largest odds on the card is actually which fight was it that was fucking canceled? It was the Dennis Berjuka fight, wasn't it? No,
Mitch Raposo got canceled.
Mitch Raposo. Never mind.
Raposo versus Nascimento got canceled.
We're good. Is Dennis Berjuka? Yeah, that's what we're gonna call Berjuka, and fucking Mauricio Barbosa. Barbosa coming in as a minus 500 favorite. Dennis a plus 380 underdog. That is the widest odds on the fucking card. Not crazy, but it's something. Just as usual, Coming, Tyler Phillips, Charles Jourdain. Pretty coin flippy. Charles Jourdain, they're giving a slight edge at a minus 140, and Kyler Phillips a plus 118. And that, again, this is all three Caesars, so take your pick on where you make your bets. The main event, we all kind of said the same thing without actually breaking down the fight, but in Gilbert Burns and Mike Malott. Gilbert Burns is a plus 235 underdog. Mike Malott coming in at a minus 290. When he's at home, yeah, he's fucking hard to beat. And well, you've got an aging Gilbert Burns who has just not looked like Gilbert Burns in quite some time. So those odds definitely stack up there. For the vast majority, the rest of these, they're all coin flippy. The minus 100 plus 100, it's, so somewhere in there. Oh, if you're going to bet, don't bet the house this weekend. If you do bet the house this weekend and you win, feel free to, throw your boys a little scratch because, we get itchy now and then. But other than that, I'm not telling you to bet. In fact, I'm advising you against it because, well, betting is just throwing away money not most of the time, even if you really know MMA, because everybody has a puncher's chance. Thus the reason why Buster Douglas beat fucking Mike Tyson at one point. Everybody has a fucking puncher's chance. That's all I'm saying. No, that's all I got this week, and hopefully there's something better to talk about next week, but the chances are probably not.
Thank you very much, sir. Always appreciated. Yeah, this weekend's card is a rough one. Next weekend is a little rough, but not quite as rough as this one. But if that's not quite your cup of tea, that's even more reason that you should hop over and catch the Combat Sports menu that I do every Wednesday here on the channel, because I tell you about all the fights going on over the weekend, even though we mainly cover UFC on the show, because that's pretty much what everybody else builds their schedule around. That being said, that's going to be all we've got for this particular episode. But when we wrap things up here around Thursday night, that is not the end of the fun, because Friday, this gentleman, wait, no, he's over there now. This gentleman and his other half dropped their podcast, the Slow Bacon Contemplate podcast, over on Spreaker.com. Links to their podcast and their social medias are all in the description, whether you are watching or listening, as well as the link to their channel over on the I'm No Joe Discord server. So click on that shit and tell them how good they're doing.
Appreciate you, brother. The fun never fucking stops. I know he doesn't live stream anymore, but the brother does a lot of good things. We were just recently helping fundraise some money for bikes for kids and shit like that. So you got to always show the brother TJ some fucking love. Everything that he's still got going on should be down in the description as well. So make sure you follow Golf T Vapes everywhere. Fucking go show the brother TJ some love too.
Thank you, sir. Now, being as I don't do regular shows anymore, let alone probably at all for quite some time, that's going to leave you with a whole extra day of downtime. In fact, I would say you could be in for some higher education. Like that, you can go down below, click on Linktree / the meter does many things, or Linktree / I'm no Joe, and you'll definitely get that higher education you're looking for. Not to mention, it'll fill that time slot on Wednesdays and every other day of the week that you're feeling like going and watching videos. Do it, it's worth your time. You will find out each and every one of the many things that the meter does do, aka higher education. Those of you missed it, there was air quotes around higher there.
Thank you very much, sir. Always appreciated. Yeah, if you are a fan of Satan's Jazz Cabbage, you definitely want to click that other link down below, because that other channel is all about putting the fun back in funky. That being said, the secondary link is the I'm No Joe link. So if you are here for combat sports, welcome. You have found your spot. Please make sure you click subscribe, because YouTube doesn't like to promote a lot of our shit. We're just not that friendly. That being said, we do try and do this show pretty much every Thursday when there are fights to talk about that weekend. We dual stream it live, youtube.com/@I'mNoJoe. Also, twitch.tv/I'mNoJoe. What's up, Twitch folks, as well. We dual stream the show live to both platforms. We leave the replays up as long as both platforms allow, so you can go back and catch it if you missed us live. If you missed us live on purpose, I understand. We also own mirrors, and for that exact reason, the week after we go live, we put the all audio version over on anchor.fm/I'mNoJoe. Pick that up free there as well through your podcast consumption platform of choice. Google, Spotify, Apple, whatever you use to listen to shit, you can catch us over there just the same for free. If you really like what we get up to around here, best way to support us, share an episode with a friend. You got $1 to spare? That's the way to do it. Patreon.com/I'mNoJoe. For as little as $1 a month, as much as you are comfortable giving, you can help us do what we do around here every week. And in exchange for your patronage at any level, first and foremost, we put your name on the end of every broadcast on this channel, so everyone knows how fucking awesome you are. More than that, contributing at any level gets you access to the unaired and unairable, all the behind the scenes bullshit that got us kicked off of OnlyFans as a platform is there for the patrons, as well as exclusive Patreon only content. We make shit just for the folks that help us out. So if that is something you are interested in and have at least $1 in your pocket burning a hole every month, click on that link. If you like us, please click the thumbs up, turn your notifications on if you are subscribed. We appreciate you, whether you are new or you are a returning viewer. The other side of that coin, if you don't like what we get up to around here, first and foremost, what the fuck are you still doing this deep into a podcast that you didn't enjoy? Give it a thumbs down and then go fuck yourself. We won't even dispute it. That being said, when we wrap things up here, that is the end of the fun. So until next time, boys and girls, don't let ignorance stop you. You can root for anything.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening. How do I say goodbye to what we had? The good times that made us laugh.